Greetings and welcome back. This is Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm and other things, related things. I'm Garrett. Here as always with Kyle. Kyle, we got called. We got called out on the Heroes of the Storm Facebook page this week.
Oh. See, that's what people don't realize, right? Right. This is full-blown post-apocalyptic resistance radio. You know, we're going to update you on the game. We're going to tell you where the zombie horde is moving to. But also, we need to keep our spirits high. We need to talk about what the government is doing. And in this case, it's just Blizzard and their horrible practices and all the bizarreness happening with Diablo Immortal and all that sort of thing. Like, I am so happy we didn't do a full-blown Diablo Immortal expose on this show like we've done for other Blizzard topics, because this gets worse by the day. It is absolutely insane. Looking out the window, like, we've got a nice little like Christmas tree lights hanging bunker going on here, and here's the storm. It's nice. Come on in, join us. Nice and safe. Bring your families. But out there, man, out there it's a hill of beans. You can't trust anybody out there.
So much like a zombie movie or thing, we're also talking about like where the survivors are going.
Exactly.
There's other players as survivors, other developers as survivors, because a lot of them went over to Frost Giant. They founded a new encampment over there, where apparently they're trying to do the same thing they did, 15 years ago. But
yeah, dude, absolutely. I mean, it makes you wonder what Dustin Browder or any of the devs protected us from over the years. Like, we had, what were they called? The levels, the gems. What were the things called where we had to like upgrade our movement speed and our health regen using little pips and points?
Runes,
yeah.
The Rune System, the Rune System. Yeah, that was still during tech alpha, wasn't it? That wasn't post-launch.
No, that was definitely during the alpha. But it makes you wonder, like, who stood their ground to stop that. Now, granted, that's more about a system of commitment than actually monetization in many ways. That is about letting a player psychologically know, like, hey, you put so much work into this game, you're going to have fear of missing out, or you're going to have buyer's remorse / what's it called? Investment decay. Forgetting the
investment decay. Are you talking about depreciation?
No. It's the thing people love to say about World of Warcraft and why people don't leave even though the game got
sunk
bad.
Cost fallacy.
There we go. That's the one they use. Yes, it's about that. So you have so many points in Kerrigan, even though Kerrigan's bad in this meta, you'll keep coming to Heroes of the Storm for the next dopamine because you've invested so much into that character.
Okay, all right. I'm picking up where you're laying down.
If you've not gone by YouTube recently, you may have heard of it. Like, there is so many student documentaries being made about gaming right now and the Diablo Immortal issue that it is a well of case studies, psychological experiments, absolutely insane. And when I'm listening to other podcasts and other shows, like, people are like, and Heroes of the Storm did it right. Yeah, I remember Heroes of the Storm. That was a great game. Yeah, that was great. We bought things because it made us look different.
We used to do it right. It's easy to forget, even though it is still in the game. We went to loot boxes and multiple currencies, and we are still, and it seems like forever, stuck with that. So that's an interesting thing. By the way, man, how did you or me not think of the title Diablo Immortal? That video is going off. I'm unfamiliar with the channel, but YouTube suggests it to me every time I pull open YouTube. So whoever that is, I don't know who you are. Genius title, truly genius title.
Hayes that did that one.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, he always wears the vest. He makes good content. A lot of it's not necessarily like death of a game, but it's why X property or RPG didn't work out. Josh Strife Hayes, I believe it is. This is Josh Strife Says, which I think is his Clips channel, perhaps. Maybe that's owned by someone else, like Pirate and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, not a channel I'm familiar with, but YouTube keeps suggesting it to me, and I just thought that was So perfect. Just chef's kiss. You should write headlines for Kotaku.
Well, I mean, you go write headlines somewhere else. They're kind of a mess.
It's fine. It's the Kotaku.
I do not like seeing them pop up on news feeds. I'm like, come on. Like, I can't believe I get better coverage from a place called Windows Central. Like, that sounds like an MSN trash website. I'm not begrudging anybody who works there. It's just like, title wise, it is not somewhere I go for gamer news. And now I go there, I'm like, oh, this is really well written. Look, this is a fabulous little thing I'm reading right now. It's got all the weird, explorer style ads on the side too. The internet is a changing beast. But you're right about the loot boxes. Like, we absolutely got loot boxes. I never spent any real money on them. But we've got the multiple currencies over here that do not add up perfectly to give you all the things you exactly need. But man, I've gotten a lot for free out of 2.0 and all the Heroes of the Storm goodies with shards. And I do have a balance of 3,265 gems, apparently. How much is that in real money? How did I get so much? Why do I have so many gems?
Why do you have gems? Because remember when they did 2.0, like they floated the idea of like, well, with these multiple currencies, we could give them to you in loot boxes, and we've never gotten gems from Jack.
I've got something like $30 sitting in my Here's the Storm account.
Maybe, were you gifted BlizzBucks or something? That's something that we have been gifted way in the past.
Well, the BlizzBucks, right? But I don't remember buying a $50 gem pack. But isn't that how the gambling goes? I don't even remember it. Why did I even...
That's what they want, man. You go to the arcade, you trade your coins for tokens, and then you can't spend them anywhere else.
It would have been right at the end that I would have been out of gold enough to have to purchase gems to get a hero. So maybe that was... I don't feel like I was outpaced in Mal'Ganis.
Hogger? Yeah, but that's such a...
No, Hogger, yeah.
That's a lot of money, though, right? Like, you don't need that much money to buy a hero. So why
I did get gems along the way?
Yeah,
from things?
But we didn't. We didn't get gems. You get gems at certain hero levels, says Furtive Stealth.
Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe my account just kept going. I think around like Mephisto, I was out of gold. This would have been a while back because Mephisto was 2 heroes before Orphea, which was the slight delay until Imperius, and then things kept getting longer after that. So they got me at some point, and I know I had to buy gems in order to do the stream because, it was being professional and showing off the new hero the day of on my stream. So I had to purchase it and all that. And they did the beta you had to purchase. That was always a really weird thing where you had to buy the hero on the PTR in order to play it, to test it for them so they could get feedback so you could play it on your stream. Granted, like in the heydays of Heroes of the Storm, we had Lashes over there really like in the groundwork, like really understanding what streamers and content creators needed to make their content. And a lot of that came with like codes given directly by Blizzard at that time. Like they made sure I woke up. I remember Leoric, I had a code sitting in my box that morning so that I didn't have to pay real money because I had already spent well over $100 making sure I could afford, well, not afford, that's not the right word, but making sure I pre-bought on the PTR the hero so I could stream it that morning.
Feels like ancient history now.
Oh, it was a long time ago. We're talking 2017. That was 5 years ago. Long time ago that.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, it's been interesting. Just thinking about it, like as I'm sure many listeners, not just Facebook friendly listeners, have noticed, like we've been talking about a lot of other stuff lately because there just hasn't been that much new to talk about in Heroes of the Storm. We could have a meta discussion, but you could probably go back 2 months, listen to a random episode of Into the Nexus, and the meta discussion would still be pretty relevant because there's just not a lot being changed up in this game right now. And we haven't talked about CCL as much either because there's problems with that. Nothing's going particularly smoothly in the realm of Heroes at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, CCL has problems, and we discussed them here. None of them are by the tournament. A lot of them are just psychological issues for the players because of the tournaments, restrictions or rulings or layout or anything like that. I mean, when you fall behind in a tournament, you're not going to try as hard. But then, of course, there's a gauntlet coming up, which means all players get to go through a bracket. And no matter how low you are on that bracket going in point wise, you can always take the whole thing. So there's the next 2 weeks, there's going to be games that maybe don't necessarily matter. There's no way you can really overcome 30K's lead to get a better spot and that sort of thing. So, and that happens with any tournament at all in the world.
Yeah, we've seen it happen before with other stuff as well. But anyway, that's just a long way around to tell you where our heads are at in terms of how we choose what we talk about on the show. So we're there's not a whole lot new happening in HOTS. So we're looking at what is HOTS adjacent. Where the hell did all of our devs go? Other places. So we're kind of curious to see what it is they're doing. And one of us is very excited, and the other is me. In terms of what they're making over at Frost Giant. So
I mean, there's all.
Did you see, dude? Did you see how many replies I got?
What on Facebook? I don't
on
even
Twitter.
have Facebook.
On Twitter, man, from the official Frost Giant account. They just blew up my Twitter because I made a snarky comment that was like, "Boy, that announcement really stretches the definition of an announcement." And they hit me back with a single tweet that was like, "Hey, we actually had a bunch of other stuff that we announced that wasn't part of the reveal during the Summer Games Fest," which is fair. Right? Like, you get it. Like Jeff Keighley really wanted to make room for that god awful selfie video from The Rock. You needed to make sure that The Rock's mindless ramblings was shown, so there wasn't as much time for Frost Giant to show off their new RTS, and so that was fine or whatever. I'm like, cool, that's cool. But then other people started replying to that reply to me, and then Frost Giant just like wrote a book and just kept going. And I know you can mute it, but I thought it was hilarious because I don't think the game looks very interesting. So because I'm grumpy, I thought it was funny. And they just seem a little desperate, Cal. The desperation is a stinky perfume.
I don't think it's desperation. I think it's that the social media manager was told to go hard, and they don't have that much to share right now. And I was thinking about it over the weekend, and the real issue with the Stormguard, right? That was what it was called?
Stormgate?
Stormgate. The real issue with the Stormgate announcement is that they didn't have gameplay. And I'm not talking about like, oh, we didn't see your gameplay for World of Warcraft, new expansion. Like, who cares? In those sort of turn-based MMO RPGs, you could even say like an Assassin's Creed. I don't really care. I know that you're going to be counter-based. You're going to be tab targeting. I know what your gameplay is. They announced a Dark Souls. An RTS plays a certain way, has a certain feel. I would say the same thing about Diablo. Like, you have to show the crunchiness. If you're not familiar with Dark Souls, something that Elden Ring did in its very first trailer, that wasn't, they had a cinematic trailer for an announcement, but you go, oh, same company, you're making something I know. They took a long time slow-moing a slash through the air, particularly on Sekiro, as the character rolled aside. And as a Dark Souls veteran, you see that and you go, ooh, look at those hitboxes. How exact, how interesting. What a cool game. I can't wait to play it. And RTS is the exact same way. Screenshots, talking about it, cinematics are absolutely useless. It is all about feel, economy. There is so much you have to convince us of because you are advertising to a very small slice. Now, I know Elden Ring went on to be huge. It's also a console game, so different world there a little bit. They did have competition with things like Horizon Zero Dawn Revolutions or whatever it was called.
Yeah, but Horizon was also console specific, whereas Elden Ring came out on everything all at once, except phones. God, could you imagine playing a Souls-like on a phone? Oh my God.
I'm sure there's ones that have stole the graphics, but yeah,
I bet there's probably some that I'm completely not privy to, and there are like teenagers that are like, "What are you talking about? I do it all the time. I'm great. Look at me, style on this fool."
It's so crunchy, and they had nothing to show for it. And I do not blame them. They wanted to get the word out. They are aggressively pursuing everyone related to RPG or RTS, which you were. I'm not sure if these devs were aware of StarCast or anything like that, but you are a poster child of the everyman in an RTS. And I feel like that's why they got in your mentions, as it were.
Curse my follower count.
They used you to get that exposure, and I don't mean in a villainous way, but
no.
you said something. Reach and convince.
You said something I thought was really interesting, which was you get the vibe that their marketing department was told go hard, and maybe the marketing department looked back sweaty and said, but we don't have much to go hard with. Like right. I find the marketing side of things really fascinating because you're never going to know. They are never going to just say, this is our marketing strategy and this is why we're behaving the way that we're behaving. But you can look at the behavior and try and work it backwards and say, all right, what's the strategy here? Because I really do. I think it was pretty darn aggressive, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. If I had liked the game, I probably would have found it really charming. But because I was like, not for me, I found it desperate. But I just find it fascinating, and you're right. It's very possible that they were told like be as active as you can, and they just didn't have that much stuff to show. Well, some of the stuff I heard after the fact was you mentioned that they brought up co-op last week, and I was like, oh damn, that's interesting. Lead with that. But yeah, whatever. They decided to put the focus on the esports side of things, and they built their announcement sort of around that. So interesting stuff.
It's messy too because they came out and said they're free to play during a very tumultuous time to declare anything free to play. We can hope for cosmetics again, like outside of the loot boxes, which I think we're mostly over.
Well, a lot of places, like a lot of countries, loot boxes are now illegal. So you can't have them if you want to put your game out in certain countries. So to those other countries, I say, thank you. I appreciate it.
But we still have card packs, which...
The new Marvel Snap does not have card packs, so it can get around the loot box thing, which I actually think is kind of weird now that I've spent more time with it. I almost wish it just had card packs, but I digress.
I mean, we've talked about here like a dream mode, a Magic the Gathering draft where you were given 20 loot boxes, open them all, and then go into Here's the Storm gameplay with whatever heroes you got over the course of that. I mean, we need to have a much higher percentage of heroes in those loot boxes for that mode, but that'd be really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, that was a really long roundabout way to say that there hasn't been a lot new in HOTS, except there has. Sergeant Hammer is in?
Oh, yeah. Sergeant Hammer's really in right now, particularly in the CCL, but I feel like this is going to translate very well because it's not an impossible hero to play. And a lot of why Sergeant Hammer is performing so well is because we have players on ping. So they're taking advantage of an easier to play hero so that they can play at high efficiency versus people who do have ping, which is really kind of leading the pack right now because they're able to draft different kinds of heroes, have a wider draft pool.
Well, and Sergeant Hammer is a fairly popular hero in our games at home.
Sure.
Not a top hero by any means, but also not this extremely niche pocket pick like a Probius kind of a thing. You know, Sergeant Hammer's, you know, over 5,000 games played in quick match over on HOTS logs. That puts her right there with like Orphea, Tychus, Kira, Tyrande, Kel'Thuzad, Falstad. Like those are some popular heroes. So we're right kind of middle of the pack there. So this is the kind of thing like we get. I don't know. You know me. I always ask, what can I learn from this for my games at home when it comes to esports? So Hammer seems a little more obvious. I don't know why she's in, but in terms of someone going and watching it and being like, oh, cool, and being able to take it home and go do something with it. Well, it's a hero we already see. It's not hyper coordinated Medivh play or something like that.
It's an easier ping, and therefore we'll take it as easier to execute version of things like Chromie and Junkrat. So you want to take it on Alterac Pass when you're firing over walls or defending something for a long time. You want to take it on Towers of Doom, where you're going to have that bottom push, rather than Sylvanas, who can be very, very squishy, quite finicky. There's going to be, in CCL play, a lot of opportunities to dive and get crazy and get those long-range Banshee teleport in assassins. Sylvanas can't do that on ping. But Hammer can, and Hammer can create a lot of pressure down there. Plus, She's got decent lane clear if you go napalm strike, so she can cover the lane at a distance by herself so other people can rotate around.
Okay.
So there's your answer. It's safer Raynor. It's safer Chromie. It's just really, really simple to play. And because of the build they're using, it is extremely effective in the late game. So you have this early game hammer pressure that gets you that lead on. We don't really see it in Braxis because CCL doesn't play Braxis. So we're not sure if that would apply. That's where we saw a lot of hammer in the past at home. But Towers of Doom, 100%, we're going to see a lot of that hammer.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean, comparing it to Raynor, that's interesting. I guess it's a Raynor Chromie combo, right? The range of Chromie, but with the just simplicity of damage delivery of Raynor.
Well, and let's get into the build a little bit here because it is very specific for what you're doing and it is about ease of use. So at level 1, we have Advanced Artillery. Increase siege mode splash damage to 60% of basic attack damage and increase its splash radius by 25%. This gives you lane clear, splashing. We're still in this like kill the tank meta, which all the tank players I've interviewed for CCL just have really good positive heads on their shoulders. They are aware that they get memed on, that they die a lot, and that's just simply the meta they find themselves in. And they hope that as they go down, they have taken enough cooldowns with them to warrant their own death.
There's got to be some kind of proper spin on the kill the tank meta now that hammer is in.
Regenerative Biosteel basic attacks while in siege mode heal for 10% of the damage dealt. This is about keeping your health very high because anybody who has to go deep enough to attack the hammer is really, really in there. So high enough health means that when they do all dive you or that Zeratul appears, you will weather the initial storm. So Regenerative Biosteel helps you out there. Hover Siege mode helps you maintain your distance while healing yourself. So you're floating around a little bit, keeping your health high. Otherwise, people aren't really going to fight in your zone. And Hover Siege is also really, really good on ping because by the time you choose where you're going to set up, the enemy team may have actually moved their location and you're not going to get that first fire of, let's say, your level 1 stealth out in that time.
Good for those micro adjustments.
Yeah, let's skip ahead to 13 here. Hyper cooling engines. While in siege mode, hitting enemy hero with basic attacks reduces the cooldown of thrusters by 5 seconds. So hitting heroes with basic attacks means that you can hover siege up, boom, 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 get some attacks out and then zoom away. And then hover siege up and boom, 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 get those attacks out and zoom away. So you are free to siege as much as you want and hover siege around as much as you want because you will always have your thrusters available to get out of there when you're attacking heroes. And it also means that you can push deep on a lonely fort in the top, get that fort down, and then boost away, knowing that when you arrive on the scene for that next objective, you can still have a boost thruster to get away because you're then going to go attack heroes.
See, it brings that survivability. Yeah, I was looking at this build ahead of the show, and Mockery's in our good buddy Mockery's in chat right now saying kind of where my brain was going, which it feels to me, it felt like, it never really, I don't analyze hammer, but I'm looking at this build and it feels like every level is impactful with every talent you get. And that's what Mockery's saying in our chat right now, is that every hammer level is a power spike, a notable one. That's how it feels.
When I spoke to This Was Unaverted, they did not like Giant Killer. Basic attacks against enemy heroes deal bonus damage equal to 1.5% of the hero's maximum health. Because the pressure of hammer comes in these bursts rather than long fights. And if you're thinking about this, hover siege up, get like 4 attacks out, which by the way, the splash works with your hyper cooldown engine. So while in siege mode, hitting heroes with basic attacks reduces the cooldown of thrusters, that splashes onto another hero. That's 10 seconds instead of 5, 15 instead of 5. So if you're firing in the core pile, you have thrusters all the time. So Giant Killer is this investment in long fights. If you see the enemy, of course, I was like, 3 bruiser front line, and you're just going to be back there just bam, bam, bam forever. Giant Killer is going to get value, but to him, it was actually the mechanical know-how level 16 that was more powerful. Neo Steel Plating grants 20% maximum health as a shield for 2 seconds and increases basic attack damage by 30% for 5 seconds. And that allows you to have these high moments of like, Zeratil's on me, but I don't care because I have the shield. I'm going to slam anything on the enemy side, not just tanks. And while we all kind of gravitate towards this Giant Killer at home, I would definitely take that moment to look at mechanical know-how and prefer that in the majority of situations.
I believe there's a bit of a split as far as what's getting picked in the CCL, because what have we had? 4 Sergeant Hammer games, I believe. But that makes a lot of sense.
This was Ultralist this last weekend who went heavy on the hammer, and they preferred the Giant Killer. They were up against Blaze Johanna and Anubarak Blaze Uther. So in their particular games, with I don't know if they had a Tyrael front line. So the fights weren't long, but I think they just had attacks worth hitting.
Yeah, a little. That makes sense, and I get it too because I went and looked. I was like, hey, what's popular over in Quick Match? Because Hammer's not underplayed in Storm League, but not nearly as popular as she is in Quick Match. So I was looking at the build there, and Giant Killer is far and away is the most popular one, and that makes sense. It's uncoordinated. The fights are probably going to go long, and you just want to hit tab and smile. So I think Giant Killer will probably win out in those types of uncoordinated environments, but mechanical know-how makes a lot of sense based on what you were talking about. Because it's up to you, right? Like you hit that Neo Steel Plating and you get that damage boost, so it is damage on demand.
Well, and it's worth noting too that Ultralisk here, I don't believe in this particular game was boosting as much as they could have. They found themselves in a safer position to fight for longer. So the Giant Killer is really going to prefer that situation. Mechanical know-how, you have a 5-second window where you're doing 30% bonus attack damage. And right next to it is Executioner, which you know for many heroes, attacking a hero that is slowed, rooted, or stunned increases your basic attack damage by 30%. Like, you literally get that on demand for 5 seconds. And with your level 13, you will be boosting perhaps every 5 seconds. So you set up basically every time at 16 that you siege up, you pop this, regardless if you need the shield. Pop it, boom, 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 boost around again, reset, shield up, boom, 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 boom. It really is rather heavy. And then level 20 is Ultra Capacitors. Hitting enemy heroes with basic attacks while in siege mode grants 10% attack speed for 5 seconds up to 60. And this got crazy in I want to say a 2020 update, maybe 2021, where they took this from 5% to 10%. So it's only 6 attacks if you're attacking a single hero. And I believe this too works on a splash. So if you splash on 3 heroes, you're at 30% attack speed already. So siege up, bam, 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 boost, siege up, bam, 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 boost. And it is absolutely nuts.
This just sounds fun.
It is fun.
I really cannot remember the last time I played Hammer. And I knew because it's like we have show and tell essentially before the show where I look at, whoa, what did Kyle bring today? And it was this. And so it already piqued my interest, and I was looking at the build and like, this does actually seem kind of spicy, and listen to you talk about it. It just seems like fun play style.
I think your biggest struggle is always going to be probably the older players. Like, we love to say like new players ruining the game, bro. Like, honestly, I'm more afraid of old school players seeing a hammer and they're like, we need with this a Morales, and you're like, no, please, and they're at an ETC, and you're like, no, stop the madness. Like, just go normal with it. There's no reason to get the Deckard. It's a really, really cute strategy. Yeah, let the CCL do the Deckard there, but us at home, like, get a Rhaegar, get a Garrosh, get a Jaina. Like, it really doesn't matter. Put it with an absolutely normal comp like you would if you saw a Raynor, a Vala, or any of these other auto attackers.
Okay.
And by the way, we skipped over 10 because that's like where hammer players get really weird about it.
Also, it's not integral to the build. There's not just really a build specific synergy to be found here.
So Napalm Strike is basically increased lane clear, and Blunt Force Gun is for those last second kills on the backline Li-Ming as she tries to get away because you're so skilled.
Yeah.
It's really the only choice you're making. You are never, ever going to do the level 20. And if you are doing it, you're missing out on this ultra capacitors, which plays into your whole build's synergy. And it's just the wrong thing to do. It ain't right. Just give up on it. It ain't right. You're wrong. You are actually wrong, sadly.
So have you been playing some hammer?
I've still been enjoying my Hogger time. Like Hogger's getting through a lot of the drafts right now. He's very available. No one wants to early pick. And if we have that patch in 2 weeks, which is really important for this game, we got to shake up this meta. We got to add some new toys. Right now, tanks have to early pick. And those tanks have to be so positive. There's such a burden of like emotional execution on tank players right now.
They are tanking our expectations.
Yes. They have to play really well. They're going to die a lot. Everyone has to be okay with that. They have to early pick, not knowing what the enemy comp is going to be. So you're often blind picking. If you're going Diablo, like the only thing keeping Diablo alive in this meta was that update where his reset costs less if you're at level 10 and only consumes 75 souls. Like if that didn't exist, Diablo wouldn't exist because Diablo's going to die out there. It's only going to get worse for him as the game goes on. You're basically a stun bot and a pool of health. And the pool of health is the timer on your stun. I'm not insulting Diablo, by the way. I think that's like actually really interesting design. The other issues are coming from perhaps the amount of giant killers we have buried throughout the game, particularly ones like Thrall, you could say, that have so many giant killers. So we can really, really punish any tank in this game. And we're always early picking tanks because our late picks are so darn important. So coming into Storm League and being like, hey guys, I'll early Hogger, the whole team kind of goes, oh, excellent. I don't have to ban this, freeze up a ban. We don't have to first pick a tank with nothing else on the board. The assassins get a little bit of time to think about themselves because people want to play things like Tracer right now and Hanzo. Tychuses don't really love early picking. They're okay at it. Tychus is in an interesting spot. He was so universal for so long, but he's actually weak to the likes of Tracer. And now I think Tracer is assassin number 1 in the whole game.
I've been trying to get on Tychus, and it seems that in the uncoordinated environment, no one wants to heal me. So it just felt like I was constantly dead.
Yeah, you're an Odin bot. What's your job? Odin. Oh no. Like that's you are that tool. And sometimes you get one really good minigun in the whole game. Sometimes you hit a really good grenade, but for the most part, hide until you have Odin. And that's fine. It's not why a lot of us old school players want to pick Tychus. We want that really sweet 1v1 the Sonya moment, but it gives him life right now. You're better off Chromie, Junkrat, that kind of stuff if you really want to be assassinating. I think a lot of the old school players tend to gravitate towards Lunar in that way and say like, this is a little more traditional. I know you don't like Lunar. I never really liked the movement aspect of it.
It's always really just it hurt my brain. It doesn't jive.
So that's why I'm saying like let's really kind of favor this hammer here. If you have the old school auto attack skills, like take a look at this. It's a really fun playstyle. A lot of what you do is self-powered now with this many boosters available for you, and you'll get away in a lot of situations. The one thing that I feel like is kind of hovering in the ether right now, and I'm afraid I've put away my build for a hot moment. Let me go dig that up again. Is a lot of hammers swear by siege tactics. Using Neosteel plating at level 4 grants unstoppable for 2 seconds as long as she remains in siege mode. This is a bad talent when we're thinking about this overall build because the second anything goes wrong, you're going to hit the booster and run away, thereby not being in siege mode. So you will ruin your own unstoppable because blizzards and other sorts of things are more dangerous to hammer.
So it's a high discipline talent.
It's more that like Morales, I'm gonna sit there and like, and then I'll yell at my team, right? Because you're sitting there, you're in the poop. That's the problem. It's not the CC. It's not the Uther that walks up and hits you for a stun that kills you. It's the blizzard you're currently standing in. It's the zones and being in range of Allah that causes the issue that you should boost away from quickly. So if you see too much CC on the enemy side, you don't go hammer. That's your one shut off. Otherwise, you're grand. You're grand. Go nuts. Oh, really? I think you in particular would take a lot of fun in this. It's a very, very cool play style, and it gives everyone a lot of focus.
It sounds methodical, which I enjoy.
Yeah,
I like methodical play. So yeah, put me in, coach. Tank me in, hover me in, siege me in, coach.
Way more valuable than Zul'jin. I think the burden on execution is way higher on Falstad. It's just it's really fun. I'm still really enjoying Sylvanas when I get to play it, but that's a very like high octane, high risk gamble kind of style. And I find myself more averse to that in the burst meta we're in.
I'd rather be on Sylvanas than Tychus right now, is where I'm landing. But
I think that's the right call.
Yeah, I'm just laying. I'm still just laying. That's what I'm doing. It's comfortable. It's relaxing. I just had COVID and my computer died for 2 days. I want to relax. That's what I want to do. I want a smooth experience. So, well, I'll tell you who keeps us having smooth experiences, Kyle. Our wonderful patrons supporting us over at patreon.com/ITN.
Well done.
We've been here a long time. We appreciate the continued support. So if you like our show, you like Kyle and me in your ear week in and week out, and you think to yourself, I'd like to support those two. How can I do that? Well, the Patreon's the best way to do so. Go give it a look. Patreon.com/ITN. No matter what level you sign up for, you'll get access to our patron-only Discord. It's a great little tight-knit community in there. And you'll be supporting Kyle and me in the process. So go check it out. But moving on from that, Kyle, I hear tell that there's other studios out there that make MOBAs, and they might be feeling a little, left out of the games as a service studio purchasing palooza happening right now.
It's an interesting little move, right? A lot of the energy Here's the Storm has is based on the Microsoft acquisition. Will Microsoft put money behind this? Will they find a way to monetize it? And Riot Games, maker of League of Legends, has made their move, played their cards early, and gotten on the Game Pass.
This was such a weird headline. I didn't like how much I had to read to understand this.
Well, it's messy, right? Because we're moving free-to-play games onto a subscription service. But once you understand it, it's actually quite elegant.
There's nice perks. Yeah, it's just a strange headline is all. It doesn't immediately flow because I saw this originally from you. You tweeted out talking about this, and I was like I said, I looked at the headline. I'm like, all these are free-to-play games. Why are they on Game Pass? But they come with all these perks. Like for League of Legends on both Wild Rift and regular League of Legends, all of the champions are unlocked. So, that's something we're familiar with in Heroes of the Storm.
That's a big deal.
I get excited every week. I think there's Heroes of the Storm news. It's just Icy Veins posting the new free-to-play rotation.
I think this is a really cool idea. I love the idea of a subscription service. And I assume that I've never actually looked into the particulars. I assume that Game Pass works the same way as like Spotify, where you play the game and the developer gets a cut every time someone downloads and plays.
I don't know. I think it's licensing agreements with contracts and lump sums, I think.
Yeah, that would explain the window of time that you play the game for, particularly on a solo experience. But this almost feels like it would be tied to like logins or something along that line. because if they're going to give all champions, all heroes away for League of Legends, that is a huge boon to actually investing in that game and bypassing the years you have missed out. Granted, they don't go into their system of runes and unlocking your teleport and stuff like that, your flash. But that's still really nice. Bypassing the free-to-play rotation, all that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, and you're also locked in, right? Because like if you leave Game Pass, then you don't have access to it anymore, and
which is great for trolls and other sort of issues, right? Like you would now have more of an investment in that account because it's tied to your paid Xbox Pass account. So if I wanted to make a Smurf and play Rise something, I don't know League of Legends here, so I can't even make an example one. But I would now have to consider, do I want to troll today and get this account banned because I am currently part of the subscription service here?
I hadn't considered that angle at all, but that's interesting. I mean, I would assume it is unlikely this is going to be enough to get you to go and subscribe for Game Pass. I mean, maybe I'm sure there's a few folks that fall into the perfect target demo for this, where that is the case. But I think by and large, it's just another really nice perk. And the fact that it spreads across so many Riot games, because it's both League of Legends, Legends of Runeterra is in here, Teamfight Tactics, and Valorant. So, the fact that Game Pass has its console-only version, or you can get the version that you can get console perks as well as PC perks, like this is just, I don't know. I think it is a nice package. It's some nice perks. And I think it blends well with everything. And that to me is how Game Pass has always been. It's the forest and not so much the trees. Because at this point, I can't remember. I haven't unsubbed from Game Pass, I think, since I subbed. Because it's just, there's always something I'm vaguely interested in with Game Pass. And so I think this just plays that strategy of, hey, come over here. It's an embarrassment of riches.
When I get into the meta and ranked play, I gravitate back towards humans and characters that don't immediately appeal to me. When I tried League of Legends, they did not have a number of these Zerg-like characters on the free-to-play rotation, so I left.
Classic Kyle.
Played a game.
Classic Kyle needs a monster.
So the idea here that I could be on Game Pass, which in your case you're already on, get in League of Legends and be like, oh, hey, I can actually try out Kassadin here. Or let's scroll for another one.
Just say Jinx, Kyle. Jinx is the famous character.
I don't care about Jinx. I don't need whatever the tiny bra crazy Harley Quinn kind of business that is. I know that I've never seen Arcane either, so I don't have like a background. I just don't like Harley Quinn characters, and
I liked it. I liked it until she became Harley Quinn, because you get to see essentially the origin of Jinx. And once she became Jinx, I was like, oh, I don't like this as much anymore. I've seen this character before.
Yeah. What was this? Thresh? Thresh looks neat. Got like a scythe on a stick.
That being said, you should probably just watch Arcane because it's gorgeous. Watch it and then think about how Dragon Prince looks.
Well, Dragon Prince, yeah. They announced something else the other day too. I know they're making a cyberpunk thing. That looked wild. Animation looks kind of fun.
Cyberpunk? They came out with an interesting cyberpunk cartoon. They came out with an interesting Blade Runner one where it was very stylized. That was kind of cool. Anyway, I digress. It's interesting, but
I've wanted to try for a while. It's Rek'Sai. But again, a lot of these characters were not available when I installed the game, and of course, just like Heroes of the Storm does not dodge this. You enter and it's like new event, and you're like, what new event? I just got here. Play 7 game modes, and you go, oh, well, where am I? What should I click? What do I do?
Kyle, I logged into my European Hearthstone account the other day, and the amount of pop-ups was burying.
Yeah. Here's Nocturne. I have no idea what's going on here in this model. So there's some fun characters that I would like to try out. I know that they also give with this Valorant all agents unlocked. I didn't know Valorant did purchase per hero. I guess Overwatch is still box copy, right? Overwatch has never gone free to play, has it?
You assume I know anything about Overwatch at this point. I don't.
And then
I don't
you
know.
bought the box copy and then you got all the heroes. Either way, I don't see current Blizzard being this giving. And again, you're not giving. This is the insanity of the psychological studies that are being done today. A free-to-play game gives, so you feel guilty. This has a word. I just don't remember the exact word. It starts with an R or something, but there's this exact word that means I'm going to give you free stuff. Therefore, you are feeling guilty and will give me money. It's the same reason why someone says, I buy a boost because I just want to support the company. Like there's a giving back that you want to do. The reason Diablo Immortal is good, air quotes, is because it wants you to feel guilty that you're getting it for free. So it's targeting another type of person who would spend money. So you get all the champions through this, and maybe you're paying your Xbox Game Pass, but then you go buy some skins because you really like the deal you got.
Well, I think that's the plan. At the end of the day, I think that's how it becomes worth it, right? Because you get invested, and it's a game that keeps getting frequent updates and frequent cosmetic things that you can go and purchase. I don't. If Heroes of the Storm keeps moving at the glacial pace it currently is, I don't think something like this makes sense once the merger is complete. Once Microsoft can do whatever they want with Blizzard's slate of games, because so like, let's say we do this like next year, Heroes of the Storm is coming to Game Pass, all heroes if you have Game Pass. What's the incentive if they're not putting out new skins, if not putting out new things for you to go the extra mile and invest beyond your Game Pass subscription?
That's a great point. Yeah, so if it is basically Riot taking a loss while still getting some money from the sweet deal, but they're also banking on people then feeling invest in the game and purchasing skins.
Yeah.
And I believe Riot does all their stuff in-house. It's Dota that allows you to sell your skins on their store. And in that way, it's community built.
Steam store, yo.
Drama. Yeah. Its own drama and madness. And someone's been slighted by Steam because they worked hard on a skin and then it wasn't up to code or some drama came out. Like everything has drama.
Yeah. Moving on, our subreddit has been very chatty about battle passes and boosts, which I feel like is where we frequently turn when things are quiet.
Very much influenced by this ongoing discussion. And in particular, a lot of people are asking, why can't a free battle pass exist inside a game without being a battle pass?
Wait, I'm sorry, what now?
So let's say you log into a game and it has a free battle pass.
Okay.
Why is that even a battle pass? Why not just give me that stuff? Why not put it on a level up screen? Like Heroes of the Storm has a battle pass. It's called leveling your heroes and the stuff you get along the way. It's called quests. It's called reaching level 30 on Malfurion, which I'm really close to doing, getting a Malfurion chest. That is a battle pass. We already have a battle pass. We have a free battle pass. The reason you call it a battle pass is so that you can sell the upgraded version of the battle pass.
It's also a known infrastructure. It's a popular enough mode of progression now that you say that and we know what you're talking about. There's an instant understanding from the game playing public of what you are offering when you say we've got a battle pass.
But then you time gate that content, which is one of the strangest things to me.
I like battle passes for the most part. It's what threw me off of Diablo Immortal because I was having a good time while I was sick with COVID playing Diablo Immortal, and I was like, all right, I like battle passes. I'll throw you $15. It was terrible. It was truly the worst battle pass I've ever experienced. The rewards are lame, and the levels take forever.
Well, they also have a second battle pass that's based off of like logging in each day, and you can pay to have better login bonuses, but you have to log in every day.
Yes, and once I found that, I got extra annoyed. The game's just gross, which is a shame because the core gameplay is really fun. But I digress. I like it. I've done quite a few battle passes in Call of Duty and Apex Legends. I do it every time for Hearthstone. I enjoy them. It's gamified progression, and it's usually, well, how do I put this? A lot of times it is cosmetic stuff. That's not the case for Hearthstone because you get like in-game currency and you do get cards, like things that can give you a power boost. But I enjoyed Apex Legends. I enjoyed Call of Duties because it was like skins and guns and stuff like that. They weren't power boosts. It was just more customization for my characters and for my account. And I liked the games enough at those times where I was, playing them and had a battle pass that was of value to me. So that's
the only battle pass I've ever liked is the one I got in Magic the Gathering Arena. I bought a Pokemon Unite battle pass, which was physically impossible for me to complete and get the goal out of. My co-hosts, they completed the goal. I simply I didn't really stream Pokemon Unite either, so I wasn't doing it enough hours per day to complete that thing. And that was upsetting. To me, I felt like there should be some scaling there, kind of some sort of cooldown system, right? Like if you play 8 hours a day, you make less progress than I do playing 2 matches a night. But that's not fair to that's not fair to the 8 hours a day people, right? But in that way, you increase the value of your time in that game, though it's limited, and they feel like the content lasts longer. It's something that Final Fantasy streamers talk about a lot right now, particularly when it comes to PvP. A lot of them blaze through their PvP, what is the equivalent of a subscription battle pass. Like you get stuff because you play, you don't pay any more for it, but it works like a battle pass over there for their PvP system.
Yeah.
And they got done with it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't agree with saying that leveling up heroes and getting chests is like a battle pass. Like, because at a certain point, like, you're just describing progression, and progression can take a lot of different forms. What I think of battle passes as is like a resettable progression with new rewards, whereas you hit 30 on Malfurion, you can't go back and do that again. They can't say, hey, and every 3 months we reset your heroes to 1. That's not something that they do. To me, that's a key part of a battle pass, is that it eventually has an end date. That if that is something that you're into, you are aware of the fact that it is here for a limited time to grind that thing out and get all of the rewards within it. And then soon there will be a new battle pass where you'll restart down at the bottom and work your way up through new rewards.
Here's the thing about the Magic the Gathering Battle Pass that I like so much. It is tied directly to the current set. So when I've never spent a penny in Magic the Gathering Arena because I'm so damn skilled. No, it's because I make one deck. And that's all I want is I look at your cards for your set and I say, what's the one deck I'm going to make? And it takes me some time in your season, but I really think about it. And then I craft that one deck and I'm done. Lots of people I know who pay money have many, many decks they want to play when they want to duel or whatever. And that's fine. That's great. I'm glad you have those options. I get one deck with enough mythics, and I don't really buy like the specialty lands, which that's where I get like real old man on my porch, like, darn you, mountains that are also lakes. I hate you. You're cheating. And then you phase out those lands that were special so that I have to buy them all over again. Anyway, I'll stop yelling at Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering's Battle Pass gave you a pet that was themed based on the current set. So the last one I bought was when they did the D&D tie-in, and I got a little baby dragon. And that little baby dragon became a fire dragon, became an ice dragon, became a black dragon as I leveled up the pet, and I got different skins for it. And then I got skins for my cards that were part of that set. And then I got packs that were part of that set. And when that set phased out of limited and standard, Battle Pass is forgotten about. I never missed out on anything on the sets I don't buy or the sets I don't play, because those will just move out to obscurity. It doesn't work in Heroes of the Storm because you can't then say, well, Blaze was made in 2018? That's no longer in the limited set of heroes. He's old. He's done. He's classic. You can play him in Commander, but you don't play him in Ranked. Blaze doesn't exist anymore. He's too old. He's unbalanced.
Yeah, I can see why that's attractive. I don't think it's as clean or as easy to implement in something like Heroes of the Storm, for example. I mean, Hearthstone's somewhat similar. You get new cards from the current set when they reset their battle pass because they reset it with each expansion launch. So it's somewhat similar, although it's a long conversation. But you get stuff from other modes, which if you don't play them is annoying.
Sure, and that's, filling it out with goodies. I mean, that's why, there's candy in your goodie bag, right? Like candy's only a limited time thing, but the other keychain you get is going to last you a lot longer. That's the candy. My issue with battle passes so often is like you get that unique gun skin in Apex Legends, and now you will forever miss out on that gun. It's not that that gun skin will eventually be phased out in 3 seasons and no longer available to use at all in the game. Like you did not miss out because no one can use that anymore.
It's, I don't know, FOMO is a strong motivating factor, and I think that's part of the dark side of this, but I don't know, it doesn't bother me too much. But also the only one I've been doing regularly is Hearthstone, and I always get to the end. So yeah.
So more of a conversation about the philosophy of battle passes and what I found appealing on them in the past. In that way, it'd be really fun to have overall themed battle passes, like the pirate event. Like make our events a battle pass there, so I can invest because I want something very particular. What I dislike is extremely disjointed battle passes where you get a purple gun and then you get a gun that looks like swords for a gun, and now the gun looks organic. It's just like, I want one of these things on this pass. I don't want all of them. Motivate me to work through your battle pass because there's an overall theme.
I mean, in that way, it was kind of the in-game holidays that we don't really get anymore. Those were a lot more analogous. And if there were going to be battle passes in this game, that would be a strong possibility of where you would stick them.
I'm really curious about 2 weeks. Right now, you log into the game, it says 2021 Classic Pack. That's got to go. What are we going to get? There's a lot of data mine skins that are recolors, a couple of unique skins sitting around. And if that's what we get out of the archives, that's something. That's some longevity.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
hey, Kyle, it's all right. Reforged got its update. We can get those 3 devs back on HOTS now.
I thought, they got like a ladder over there. People seem pretty excited about it.
It's interesting. I'm kind of curious to see how it is in the long run, because I remember, I think Grubby was kind of concerned that once the ladder came down, they might start policing the fan-made ladder. And I could see that being a concern, but I don't know. The press is so bad for Reforged. I would be very surprised if they started getting cease and desisty with community efforts.
And they just haven't policed that hard in the past. I know there's been some private WoW servers that have gotten shut down, but that was all on the eve of Classic's release.
Well, I mean, there was some pretty major shutdowns long before Classic launch, which was its own can of worms. But yeah, it's.
Let's see, what are they getting over there?
Varying degrees of litigious is how I would describe Blizzard. It's like they've never they're real cool about everyone using their music, using their art, and all that kind of stuff for streams and assets and whatnot. But things like private servers and whatnot, that's where they tend to raise eyebrows. So I don't know. Anyway, it's a side point. It's something I'm curious about from the sidelines, to see if they end up going after any of that stuff. I would be surprised that they did, because I think it would be bad optics.
The storyline is becoming that Blizzard isn't very good at supporting their games,
which is weird, right?
Content.
Isn't that weird? Because it used to be the opposite. I used to think of them as the company that would support their games until the end of days,
with a custom editor, and the fact that the servers existed rather than having to go to GameSpy or MSN to use them. I think that's where the romance comes from. I remember I would buy a Blizzard game because I knew their online BattleNet was great and it was going to work for an extremely long time.
Well,
and then us, the players,
for me
created
that
the content.
For me, that reputation came from World of Warcraft because they just kept and keep coming out with new content. Is it as fast as everyone wants? No. Is everyone happy? No. It's impossible to please everybody. I'm not here to have that discussion, but that's where that reputation came from for me, and that example is still there. But now we're in a time where, if you believe Schreier articles, which I tend to, Diablo 3 had more stuff coming down the pipeline. Decided to nix it because Diablo 3 started off on the wrong foot. Let's cut our losses and start work on 4 and also do a mobile game. Overwatch hasn't gotten as much new content as it seems like the community would like. StarCraft 2 has been put in official maintenance mode, like actually said so. Warcraft 3 Reforged was a massive blunder. And Heroes of the Storm is starting to feel like it's on maintenance mode, and they're just not telling us. So it's a strange time. But we're also in one of those spots that we were in before StarCraft 2. This long drought of anything new out of Blizzard. They just came out with mobile games, which is a big moment if you want to talk about the history of the brand, even if you yourself, like us, older school Blizzard fans, are maybe not as interested in it, or it's not our cup of tea. It's worth noting for the history of the company that they're coming out with these new games on mobile for the first time ever. But for those of us who prefer our Blizzard on a vertical rectangle sitting next to a monitor, it feels like we're in one of these droughts again, which we haven't been in since before StarCraft 2.
And now we're hearing that years of content planned language from Diablo 4. And that's where like the real disenfranchising, the real lack of faith is coming from, for me anyway. Because we've seen Path of the Exile, even Lost Ark, which have these crazy monetization plans, and maybe not so much Path of the Exile, but just the amount of content they have produced over the years compared to Blizzard is staggering. And I think a lot of that comes from, if we want to talk just game design, a lot of it comes from scaling. I think Blizzard went really, really hard on scaling for many, many years. And when it comes to Diablo 4, I really want to see them move away from scaling. I want bosses with extremely unique mechanics that challenge me, and I do not beat until I'm ready to beat them. And it's easy to be like, oh, well, you just want Dark Souls and Diablo. Not necessarily. Like,
did you hear me think that?
Did I? Is that what you're into?
That's exactly what I was thinking when you said that, which was you just want Dark Souls and Diablo, Kyle.
I want the zones and the enemies to be custom built for the level I will be in. So when I over level them or under level them, I feel that edge there. However, you then have to create more and more content for me to progress through. And you can go back and make mythic or legendary versions of those fights, but we need that linear process. And I think that a lot of what Blizzard's been designing for years has been scaled content that'll keep people happy rather than creating enough content to keep people happy. And this doesn't exist so much in Here's the Storm. Like, Here's the Storm is a PvP game. We make our own content by showing up tired, or maybe you have a drunk player. Like this, there's all sorts of variables that we human beings bring to the game with meta knowledge, with our own drafts, that make each one of those matches unique. But looking even all the way back to when I was 14 playing Diablo or Warcraft 3 Dota, it's easy for me to go, oh man, like meta's ruined so much. Like, we were so organic back then about the items we picked and the heroes we picked. But in the background, we just simply did not get patch notes. But Ice Frog added new champions all the time. And items were constantly being tooled around and changed. And if you knew the exact forum to go to, you could go read up on which items and heroes are currently overpowered. So in the past, even though we romanticize a lack of information, like Thoughtbot time periods, game updates still flowed with greater frequency. And I feel like Blizzard's continually aiming for this set it and forget it zone, this perfect algorithm. that'll make the game run itself.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that as much. And I don't think you can for certain games. I get what you're saying about Diablo 3, but like we also just know that they like cut another expansion. Another expansion would have brought bespoke content. I think that's why that one feels so long in the tooth. We got one expansion. It was Reaper. It was good, and then there wasn't anything else unless you were really into seasons, which some people were. I'm not. I'm like you in that way. For a game like Diablo, I do need new adventures to go on. Eventually, I'm good for a couple seasons, and then I'm out. So I don't know. Probably with their survival game, I bet they're kind of going in the direction of what you're saying, but that's kind of the point of most survival games. You and I really enjoyed Valheim. We're currently enjoying V Rising. There's a pattern to the way that those games are built that is repetitive, but still lends itself to a pretty damn long play time. Before I think players like you or me who do, feel winded when we're seeing the same monster models, the same graphics over and over again. Where it elongates that process for people that have sensibilities like you and me. So, I think it depends on the game. Is kind of my retort.
Absolutely. And with Blizzard Survival game, we've said on the show what we want them to do is come out and say this will be $40, and we say thank you, and then you leave. Just go away, and I will get $40 worth of play out of your game, and I'll be done. I will survive to the last boss. I'll eat my fill of legendary fish sticks. And that's
what you said.
Game.
That's not what I said. Because what I want is Valheim with actual updates. Because I would love more Valheim. And they just gave me new things to make for my home, which is cool, but I wanted new bosses to kill and new lands to explore. So
in that I would want an expansion structure.
Hey.
Or DLC, but
I'm okay. I'm okay for that. I'm absolutely fine with that.
If that's what we're talking, then I'm all for it. Like, bring out your survival game, Blizzard, and sell me the expansion to it that gives me more bosses, and then sell me another expansion that gives me more bosses. Like that.
You're describing World of Warcraft or Diablo 3, which I enjoyed the business model. I guess World of Warcraft also has a subscription, but I'm not trying to get that technical.
Right, and that's where I kind of work in that Blizzard for World of Warcraft went crazy on the scaling, and one giant auto attack mechanically doesn't interest me anymore. Like
that's fair.
If I'm level 20 and I fight your boss and it shoots 3 mini missiles that end up circles on the ground and does an auto attack and maybe like a backwards tail slap. And then at level 60, I fight that again. It's all the same mechanics, just more damage. That is no longer enough. I need new mechanics. And I see new things.
Well, so I've got bad news about how dungeons are made harder in World of Warcraft.
Absolutely. Scaling is the way they do things.
Would you like to take some questions?
Yeah, let's do that.
Darkness stopped calling. Darkness just texted me.
It's not the over, it's a hero brawler!
You can send your emails to itncast@gmail.com. If you're supporting us on Patreon, we've got a question channel for you. You can skip the inbox entirely and drop us a message in there. Moby1 did exactly that and wants to know what's more important in Storm League, macro or PvP?
What a trick question.
You need both?
I would say PvP. Yeah. Because it's all well and good you have a beautiful economy and you so-called the lanes. If you can't win a fight, you don't win the game.
I'm with you. So I don't want to take away from all of the times we've had long discussions about how missing macro is a common mistake in lower leagues.
Right.
But at the end of the day, how many times also have those conversations? We get emails, time and time again, how do I get a bronze? How do I get a silver? Time and time again, we always end up boiling it down to, what really works? Them being dead and you not being dead.
Yep. Just watch Fan. It's a perfect example of this. He can 1v1 anybody with any hero, and then he goes and does macro. Or you win the Sky Temple fight, and then you yell at your team, I've got this. Don't be here. We don't need multiple people on this point anymore. And then they go, oh, what can I do? All the camps are gone. Hey, they went and soaked. and now you macro up on them.
You leave your rando teammates with nothing left to do but go to macro because there's no more distracting enemy players to kill.
Exactly. And that way you could say, death timers are too short and things like that, and that game design should support this sort of strategy. But yeah, I really like how classic Blizzard strategy games encourage both a macro and a PvP, micro and macro advantage, and some players are better than other things. And that's the whole reason we have class systems or jobs in MMOs that allow players to find their niche and kind of live in that and be good in the way they want to be.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you got to know how to. Oh man, what did my recent CCL video call it? Go watch the recent video I did about Tracer with this was Dino. Range DPS for Chili Mountain. And he really gets into what we used to call limit training. He had a different word for it. But basically how you know you can 1v1 anybody in the game because you played enough of the hero. And that is ultimately the greatest skill you can have.
Sick. Go give that a watch. Torian wrote in and wants to know, with Adam Jackson as the lead class designer for Diablo 4, how do you think the gameplay will be compared to Heroes? And if it ends up being a great experience, would PvP in Diablo 4 be something you all will cover in the future?
I really want to believe that their PvP will be good. I think the modes and arenas they constructed for Diablo Immortal are very cool. After years of them saying Diablo 3 can't have PvP because of balance issues, and then they put out a pay-to-win PvP where the whales are destroying people. You should go watch some of these YouTubes, man.
I don't need to.
They're insane.
I don't need to. I'm good.
Here comes the whale, and just everyone's firing. Their health isn't moving. They run up with their 5-star gems and just destroy everybody. It's absolute insanity.
You are just kind of describing drag racing, which I do go watch locally pretty often. And it's just, hey, look at all that money, win.
Yeah.
Which is why I prefer stick shift drag racing, because there's more skill involved.
And it's why, Rocky, what was it, 3 is a fantasy where, the dude he's fighting has like all the augments and super training, and Rocky's got heart and he wins. Sorry, spoiler alert from Rocky 3. But I really would like PvP to be something in Diablo 4. Let's add to a beautiful, pure dream world here, where there is no pay to win in Diablo 4. That doesn't touch the game, and PvP can be a skill based thing.
Okay.
I think that I'm always afraid of what happened with Mass Effect 3, in that the main game suffers in ability, creativity, and power because those have to be scalable for PvP. And we've seen World of Warcraft struggle with this for years.
You also have other games, though, like Final Fantasy XIV, which just say, screw it. You get a custom set of abilities in PvP.
I think that's the right way to do it now. Like, take all gear out of the equation, take your fun abilities and change them out with other things, and then balance that new game mode.
I am unconvinced with Final Fantasy XIV's PvP. I don't like that I need to go learn an entirely new set of skills, as pared down as they are. But it doesn't feel like I'm playing my job when I'm
That's
going
fair.
and doing PvP. I think I prefer how WoW does it. And Diablo is another one of these games where, my witch doctor was very different from your witch doctor. And so I think that would be an important thing to retain if you were going to attract a player like me to PvP.
It's a really interesting equation. Again, we're in our dream world. We're talking about, the game free of pay to win or anything like that. I don't think it's fair to ask Diablo fans to have no gear in PvP, because that's literally the end goal is gear. Why you would grind. And the power fantasy in World of Warcraft is very much the same thing. Like, hey, here comes the full gladiator set at you. and they will be more powerful than you because they put in the work. That's the fantasy.
And I think it works for a game like World of Warcraft because there's a long enough period of time before the next set of gear comes out.
Yeah.
So if you are in the high end of investment, it's likely you'll be able to get what you want and bring it. So yeah, I don't. It's interesting. You know, normally Torian, I would tease you a little bit and say, well, you said if it ends up being a great experience, yeah, I'll cover anything if it ends up being great. Like if I think it's great, but it actually did make it. It was a good little hypothetical because I think on principle I'm very disinterested in PvP in a game like Diablo. It's not what I go to Diablo for. But yeah, I hadn't really thought about the fact that like I was just excited Adam went over there because I like Adam's work. And I want to see what he brings to a game like Diablo. I hadn't really considered it from a PvP standpoint, and that makes a lot of sense. I think it's a really interesting question.
I agree.
So
I agree. I think
I'll try anything once.
My brain is also in V Rising right now, which was designed in a very low button way. I mean, you have 2 abilities plus 2 weapon abilities, so 4 abilities plus an ultimate. So yeah, about as many abilities as you have.
You also have a movement ability, which is customizable.
That's true. So 5 abilities.
The movement ability is literally my favorite ability in the game.
But you also have a lot of counters. I really like the counters in V Rising, where you kind of put up a shield and it does different stuff. I like catching enemy blows.
I don't like it as much, and now I should probably go play with it more because if you like it, I trust there's something there. Also, those fire arrows have been pissing me off.
It's a very different. For me, I change my build based on every boss I fight in V Rising, and some of them are in your face, and you got to crouch roll, as it were, in your Dark Souls. And other ones you can really kite and go double ranged on your abilities and all that sort of thing. So I'm making advancements in that game by trading out my abilities based on what I'm fighting. My point being, those MOBA abilities work really, really well in PvE. I don't think Diablo thematically makes abilities that work well in PvP. Because it's all a lot of cone.
It's not how it plays. It plays a very specific way. Whereas V Rising is a strange mix of Diablo, but also kind of MOBA controls. Very much MOBA controls, except you're moving via WASD, which it's still a little strange, but I've gotten used to it. But it's a weird thing. Highly recommend checking that game out if you are a Diablo fan, a Heroes of the Storm fan, if you like ARPGs, but you also like the way MOBAs control, especially skill shots and whatnot. V Rising is a strange blend of both that works. So, yeah. We got a comment during our discussion about battle passes and seasons and whatnot that I thought was interesting, so I threw it down here in emails from Yaya Stan, which makes me think of Pit from Smash Brawl.
Could be.
Anyways, they said that they want actual stories to go with season passes, more lore for Blizzard characters, inspiration for skins, maps, and heroes, also buff other Genji builds. Are you aware of my Genji buffs? Did you change your name? Also, they complimented our hair. So
that's a good way to our heart. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way to our heart. They kind of did that with holidays back when they were in full swing. They didn't go, well, they went deep with some of them. They didn't go as deep with others, right? But like we got our Mecha Storm anime, and that informed the event, which informed the skins, and the same went for Nexomania, and the same went for the Toys event, and the same went for the Halloween event, and the same went for the Summer event. Like they were these stories. I'm assuming what you want here is something a little bit deeper, which I would be all for. But I don't know how they would tell it at this point, especially with brawls no longer a thing. Because they started getting pretty experimental with brawls.
Let's again, launch into our special space happy place. because I'm aware of the limitations of the engine. And even loading would upset me in this idea I'm about to pose. But it'd be really fun to be doing a battle pass for, let's say, the Emerald Dream event. And in order to get my next skin, I have to complete a small challenge on Malfurion where I fight Sorrowfang. And I get to go into a little dream verse of the Nexus where Malfurion does a 1v1. And it's his hero's kit. Like, you're running around, you're kiting, you're using your tree and like rooting and stuff like that. But it's still just a little challenge, like those old StarCraft micro challenges that they put out.
I think very much of the StarCraft Warcraft crossover event we got, because that was the kind of thing I always wanted more of, and I would love to just go down that rabbit hole and have big ridiculous multiverse moments of those two universes slamming together, and you know what that looks like. It's what I wanted from the game from the get-go, and they you know, at launch it was all in universe, in Nexus maps, and it was a long time before we got a Warcraft map or a StarCraft map or Diablo map, if you think about it from perspective of starting at the tech alpha, which is all the way back in 2014. So yeah, I'd be all for it. It could take a lot of different forms. Multiverses are real popular, Kyle.
They are. I mean, they're about to become the new Amnesia. Like, multiverses are getting a little overdone at the moment. Well,
some are fun and some are meta.
That's fair.
That weird thing that Facebook's doing. But I mean, yeah, it's like Fortnite's popular for a reason, and I think it does its events and its in-universe splashes really, really well. But that's on a complete opposite end of a spectrum as far as the resources that game has access to. So, all right, Kyle, I made a cluster of absurd questions.
Okay.
These are going to be rapid fire style. Because we got quite a few of them today, and keep them coming. These are funny. Access wants to know, who do we think would win in a chess match, Alarak or Tyrael?
Alarak. Tyrael is way too tiltable.
I was going to go the other way. Alarak's too tiltable.
Really? I think Tyrael showcased throughout Diablo 3 just how fragile he is.
Oh, coming for Tyrael.
And I don't mean like when he was human. I mean, he as an angel questioned his resolve multiple times. And I think Alarak would hit him with some openers in chess with full confidence and slap that timer very quickly. And Tyrael would overthink things and lose.
I was thinking Alarak's hubris would be his downfall.
Could be. Depends on the day Tyrael's having, ultimately. But Tyrael is a brute. Like, he's done things out of confusion in the lore and what he thought was right, which is ultimately an emotional decision.
Alarak did wrong things, but knew full well what he was doing and was comfortable in his decision. And for that reason, you think he's a better chess player. I can respect that.
Exactly.
I hate that I respect it, but I respect that. Moby1 said, what hero's character would have the best kept lawn?
I mean, I want to go with Malfurion because he's always rolling out the lawn, but they do temporarily last.
They're also very overgrown.
Yeah, he could just be like, I don't know. Could Malfurion do a nice local flora kind of lawn? You know, if it's in New Mexico, he's got the yuccas. If he's doing it up here, he's got some clover and stuff. Like, not forcing it.
If he casts entangling roots in different biomes, it's biome specific. Is that what you're asking?
Oh, that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, no, Malfurion's not trying to grow roses in Arizona.
I was gonna go with Sonya.
Okay.
She moves like a lawnmower.
I think Lily would have a really nice, like, one kind of weird bendy rose, but she loves it, and it's in good health. But you know, it's unkempt. It's a little weird.
I was gonna go bonsai tree.
Yeah, a little bonsai tree would work too.
Hers would be good. Chen's would be strange because he's always drunk. But it looks real cool.
A little heavy on the trimmers. I could see Stukov having a nice lawn. He's got some dad energy.
Okay. But he's covered in corruption.
That's why his lawn would be beautiful. He loves beautiful things because he can't be.
All right. Moby1's own answer was Varian, but twin blades. Just out there.
For all the trimming?
Just trimming away. Just hucking away. And then Valk wanted to know what Heroes of the Storm statue will we put in our garden?
That is an interesting question.
Do you want to know the best answer that came from our Discord?
All right.
A Dragon Knight.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That is really good.
I want to find this on Etsy, and I know it doesn't exist.
Man. He really can't compete with that. I don't think we have any characters that have turned to stone or been petrified for a time.
No, but I would not mind a Mal'Ganis gargoyle that I just, chills in my flower bed.
Yeah, that's all right. See, that's the kind of thing when you get into garden statues, they have to be of theme. Otherwise, you're immediately setting the tone like a garden gnome.
Intentionally kitschy or ironic.
Right. And I think the Dragon Knight really nails that. Really to a T. Lunar is kind of in that edge, but man, nothing competes with that. That is too good of an idea.
Lunar is just too lanky.
Yeah, she'd be dangerous. She'd break easy too. You need that thick base to make sure it's going to weather the test of time. A little Brightwing, maybe, a little Brightwing fountain.
Yeah, Brightwing.
Some water.
Oh, a Brightwing water fountain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like bird bath.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. The
Tassadar fountain would be kind of cute, like shooting out his hand.
Oh my God. Someone please mock that up. Well, thank you for the ridiculous questions, everybody. Keep them coming, itncast@gmail.com, or if you're supporting us on Patreon, drop us a question in the questions Discord channel. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. We want to thank our wonderful patrons again for supporting us. If you like what Kyle and I do and you want to support Kyle and myself, check out patreon.com/ITN. We got some perks for you over there. And a huge thanks to our Patreon producers, Sean B. and Mike R. Thank you very much for the support, you two. You can catch us live Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern right here on twitch.tv/AMoveTV, and you can follow the show on Twitter at ITNcast. Other than that, if you'd like more of Kyle and myself, you should head over to youtube.com/AMoveTV because we're making YouTube videos now. If you've somehow missed it, we are doing a series of videos called Grinding Gear, where at the moment we are playing through Final Fantasy XIV for the first time. And just this week, we put up our End of Stormblood video. Well, Stormblood 4.0. If you're familiar with Final Fantasy XIV, you know that most expansions have 2 sets of credits. But the videos are highest trending in quite a while. A lot of people are really enjoying it. Also, it is podcast length. It is the longest video we've done. So if you like Kyle and me gabbing in your ear, you should go give it a watch, or put it on in the background and listen to it audio only. That's over at youtube.com/AMoveTV. But Kyle, where can folks find you otherwise?
You can find everything I do over at kyleferguson.com. Check out those videos over at youtube.com/Heroes Hearth, but you can also find them reliably on the launcher, which is pretty darn cool. So check out that new How to Play Tracer Like a Pro. All you got to do is open up your Here's the Storm launcher. They're on Battle.net. It'll be right there. Check it out.
Nice. I'm Garrett Art on Twitter, amove.tv for this podcast and every single other one that I do. I would like to point you to Let's Talk About Star Wars, which is doing a season right now for, you guessed it, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yes, the episode this week did feel made just for me, in case you were wondering.
Oh, is it out already? Oh, yeah.
It's a Wednesday show.
We've got one left? Is that true?
One left. Next week is going to be 90 minutes.
Huh.
Yeah. They've got a lot to wrap up. I really liked last night's episode. You probably won't, but I expect that. I expect that. Anyways, that's going to wrap it up for this. If you're a viewer of our Final Fantasy streams, we'll be live tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, over at youtube.com/AMoveTV. But until then, and until next week's episode of Into the Nexus, good luck and have fun.
Take care.